So my name is Mansa Bilal Mark King, and we are today interviewing Minister Abdul Rahman, the Rock of the South, as he is known, Minister of the Nation of Islam. This is an oral history, and today's date is January 25th.
6 or 7.
January 26th, 2013, and the topic is African American Muslims in Atlanta. First question, actually, I'd like to ask you, Minister, and you've answered this off camera, so I'll just ask you on camera for the record, but when did you first come to Atlanta and why?
Well, I can't say I came to Atlanta because I was born and reared here. But I was like most young men that grew up in my time. We ran the South was, but those old South, the people hated. So I ran to New York City, Connecticut. But I ended up back here after I left New York. I went to Detroit in '53, went to New York in '54. '55, I came back to Atlanta. And this is when I first had my first engagement with the religion of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was spreading his temples throughout America at the time. He sent a man here named James. His name was James Shabazz. He was an ex-piano player out of Boston, and he had converted to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he began to start the teachings here in Atlanta. So first time I heard it, I believed it because it made sense. You know, he said, God had promised Abraham that his seed would be a stranger in a land that's not theirs. And they would serve a people for 400 years. And after that time, God told Abraham he would come. So this time it was 1955, which really was 400 years. 400 years because Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching us that we was brought here in the year 1555. So that marks 400 years, and I knew that prophecy had to fit us, serving the people for 400 years. And the only way, and the teachings that we were receiving made us realize God had came and gave us a knowledge to get ourselves up out of the condition that we was in. So this night, 1955. Yeah, but I was reared and born here.
And at that time, in 1955, were there any other people in Atlanta that you knew of who called themselves Muslims?
No, sir. No, sir.
As far as you know, that's the first.
The first time. In fact, I had never heard the word myself until no more than in a movie. And they was making mock of Islam in those movies, like we was, atheists, people who believed in some crazy God. And the word Muslim was never known probably around Atlanta. And I was a street man now, so I would have known. See, because I was a man that hung in the pool room, and anything, sport event come up, I was there. Big dance come up, I'm there. Famous artists come in town like Cab Calloway or Duke Ellington on the count basis, I was there. So I would have known if that word Muslim was available. I never heard it till this brother James came to town.
And what were some of the social activities that the Muslim community began to do as you developed it here in Atlanta?
Well, mainly we used to have bazaars, where it was live entertainment with the local musicians and the comedians and singers, and we show our wares to one another. Then we showed movies. We would rent films on the Prophet, the Muslim world, and the impressions of Mecca. We used to rent those kind of films, and we played them on the reel-to-reel thing because we didn't have the sophisticated stuff that we have today. But that's the way we would entertain ourselves, learning about Islam through films and saw how much unity was in Mecca at Hajj. So we showed these things to the early believers here in Atlanta during that time. And we entertained ourselves mainly with music, good music, clean music, and recitation of lessons that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had gave us, citation of the Quran, different things. And that's the way we lived our life. And mainly, we knew we were so far behind as a civilized people, so we knew we had a lot of making up to do. So studying was one of our #1 things.
So was the community politically active at all in Atlanta?
Well, prior to the early 60s, politically, you know, Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement was moving for equality and equal rights, but not for no, we may say, position in the city government. So eventually, in the 60s, well, let me start first. Once upon a time, we didn't have no black police. So the police, when they allowed the black men to become policemen, at that time it was still segregated now. I mean, bad. And the black policemen had to change their uniforms in the YMCA down on Butler Street. They was not allowed to arrest a white man in those days. And that went on for a long time until the civil rights movement kept moving and pushing and pushing. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad was pushing on another end for separation and everything. So eventually they began to accept the things that Dr. King and civil rights people was pushing for. So then black people began to run for city council and this until around 1970, I don't know exactly, Maynard Jackson ran for mayor here in Atlanta, and he won. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that that he wouldn't have won if it don't be for the awakening of rights on the civil rights hand, but we was a white-minded thinking people at that time. We didn't believe black folks could do anything, but I believe that through the sale of the Muhammad Speak newspaper, we changed the opinion of black people in Atlanta and around America. Buy black, unite with black, keep your money in the neighborhood.
That was the message in the
Yeah, and yes, and do away with alcohol, tobacco, drugs. We was against all of those things, and liberal thinking people was against those things too. So we began to change the opinion of our people to get them to think black, and then the Black Power movement come on the scene. Black Power, you know, Stokely Carmichael and the boys, Huey Newton, them, all that came about. So all of that pushed to bring about these changes we find here in America. And I'm thankful that I was a part of a lot of this.
And were there any particular events in Atlanta that you remember connected to the shift from sort of civil rights emphasis to black power emphasis? You're connected to the Muslim community?
Well, we had a meeting here at Morehouse Gym, I think it was in 1970, a Pan-African conference. And we had a lot of the civil rights people there, like Whitney Young, Julian Bond, and a boy named Haywood. He was behind the Pan-African movement, and then Minister Farrakhan. They brought him in as a speaker, and I think that was the beginning of that period of time after that meeting in 1970.
So we're kind of at the 70s period, and the 70s gets interesting because that seems to be the time when a lot of the activism in the black community shifted. When you look at the national picture, from a very active, politically focused to a less engaged, drugs start to become a big problem by the late 70s in a lot of our communities. As that happened, the Muslim communities were here. And by the late 70s, I'm guessing the Nation wasn't the only community in Atlanta. Do you know?
Or Muslims? Mm-hmm. No, in the late 70s, Wardi Muhammad had taken over the Nation of Islam, and he brought in what we today call tradition of Islam. You know, the direct belief in the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of Allah forever be upon him and his companions. And from that, and you know, we say like someone was talking like giving the Muslim the freedom to, brother thought he knew enough, he would go start him a masjid. Because, you know, we got masjids all around Atlanta today because it began back there in the 70s. Yeah, it started back there. But under the Nation of Islam, everything stayed intact. We had one solid community at the time. Now, I was the regional minister back during that time, and I would have, like, say you have different masjids in Atlanta now, but they're not under one leadership. See, but in my time, I had mosques around Atlanta and all throughout the South, but it was all under one leadership, and that made us strong.
Around about how many mosques were under your leadership?
Oh, I can count the states. I never did count the mosques, to tell you the truth. I can tell you this now. I opened up 19 new mosques in the 70s. And from 69 to around 72, I had opened up 19 different places where no Islam was at a period. And I would go into cities and with a couple of brothers, and we find a little place to rent. We rent the place. Then the brother would go out in the street, invite people, and I would teach them. Either have another minister might be able to teach them, and then the people could believe. Then that started a mosque right there. And to right today, out of all the places I went, Masjid's still there. Yeah, so the work that it was done, it wasn't in vain.
Now, some of the readings that I have come across have talked about important work that the Nation of Islam has done in terms of providing security and cleaning up projects. Did any of that work begin in the late 70s, early 80s? Was any of that work done in Atlanta? Or around Atlanta?
Well, I'll put it like this. A lot of them musicians, they wanted the FOI brothers around them.
As security?
Yeah.
Keep things
yeah.
ordered.
But now, the part you're talking about where we began to secure projects and houses and things and cleaning out drug places, that didn't come about till it was under Minister Sharif, who was our supreme captain at the time. And he and other brothers would go into projects and sell papers and stuff. And the people knew the people that was doing drugs and things would disappear when they was there. So the president or the owner of those places contacted him and provided him with a job of security because they saw how much the drug pushers and everybody respected the Muslims and were afraid to do their activity in front of the Muslims. So that's how that began.
Okay.
So they started hiring the Muslims to secure project houses and apartments and places like that. And now that spread throughout the country. but it started in Washington, D.C.
Oh, it started in D.C.
Yeah.
Do you know roughly the year, time?
Yeah. Well, I think Sharif know the year. I can get it for you. You want to know the time?
It might be helpful. We don't have to have
all
it right now.
But I get the time. I get the time for you because yes. Yeah, and you know what? Out of all of that, you know who became our biggest enemy while we was doing that? Police officials.
Police officials.
Yeah, because they don't want to clean up black man.
Why not?
Why? Because they wouldn't have nothing to do. See? And prisons is a business in this country. And black men are in prison, brother. In fact, I heard about over 400,000 black men are in jail. That's a lot of people, brother, in prisons. And industries are building prisons. And if you building prison, investing in prison houses, that means somebody gonna occupy them. So you got to trap the black brother in the street with drugs. Don't give him no work. So you got a ton of drugs. You got to do something. You got to rob. So it's all a plan. They're set to put us in prison for nothing. And be worked. It's what we call it's slavery all over again. See, and this is what the Nation of Islam and all Muslims should be about, to fight against all this kind of opposition to save our people. Otherwise, they're like a prey. They are prey in the hands of some evil people. See, and that's what's going on. See, those are good men in jail too, but they've been tricked.
Let me ask you this: the securing of the projects didn't happen until later, but did any of the men that you trained as you were opening mosques around the region become the leaders at the time when that happened? So tell me about the people you trained and sort of their trajectories later.
Well, I got some, really to tell you the truth, I got some became bank presidents and insurance vice presidents, and, then a lot of them still in the ministry. Yeah, I got one brother I trained, he's a bank president in Baltimore now. His name was Michael. I forgot his Muslim name, but me and him made Hajj together back in '77. And so my biggest training came through the mind of me training in the mind of Muhammad Ali. That's my biggest contribution to training a person is him.
When did you start training?
I met him in 1961.
Was that here in Atlanta?
No, Miami, Florida.
Miami.
Yeah, when I met him, he had just turned professional fighter.
Okay.
So I began to train his mind toward Islam. And I taught him the tricks, the trades of the streets. I learned him the streets so he couldn't get tricked in the streets, Couldn't nobody put a baby on him here and there. Couldn't nobody swindle him with selling him some fake stuff, investments and stuff. So I trained him in that way. I trained him to love Islam. I made him a lover of Islam, and that went on all the way up to '63. Malcolm made the statement. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had gave an executive order for us not to make no comments on the assassination of President Kennedy. But Malcolm didn't hear him. He disobeyed that order, and he made that statement of chickens coming home to roost. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad set him down, didn't put him out of the mosque, told him he couldn't speak in public for the next 90 days, because he said, our people who had brothers in prison, and we had brothers in the streets, and this country was, nuts about President Kennedy. I don't know how young you were or were you around at that time.
Not around.
But they was nuts about this man, like he was God himself, especially black folks. So the messenger knew he had to reprimand Malcolm, and he did. So me and Muhammad Ali decided to bring Malcolm down to Miami to cool him out, you know, like a little vacation or something, you know. And we brought him down. And at this time, the public didn't know Ali was a Muslim or trying to be a Muslim. And Malcolm asked me, he said, brother, if I go over to, because being a Muslim in those days wasn't accepted. Everybody hated us, you know. So we had to establish our cause. And Ali was keeping it quiet. Nobody knew he was visiting the mosque. So Malcolm asked me, he said, if he went over to the gym, would he hurt Brother Cassius? His name was Cassius at the time. I said, yeah, man, everybody know you. That's the way I put it to him. I said, yeah, man, everybody know you. But he didn't listen to me. When I carried Ali to the gym the next day, he was already there, taking pictures and things, because he had another agenda in mind that I didn't know at the time. So then the headlines hit that Malcolm was there tutoring Cassius Clay into black Muslims. You know, they call us black Muslims because, you know, everybody in those days was scared of the name black. Today you call him my brother black now. He said, right on, baby. But back there, you didn't even want to be called black back at that time. So I mean, me and we used to cut each other with knives. Before they went to the pistols, they got guns today. But I remember when everybody carried a knife, you call a man black, he pop his knife out and cut you. In my lifetime, I seen these things. See, so that's why I'm saying that how Islam changed the thinking of people, because everybody hated black. They hated black. So the news went out that Malcolm was doing this and doing that, and tutored Ali. So I went to Chicago for Savior's Day. Ali knocked out Sonny Liston February 25th, 1964. So I went to Chicago for Savior's Day. The next day was Savior's Day. And Malcolm's captain named Yusuf Shah told me that Malcolm was finna split from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and he's gonna set up his own movement. And then everything hit me, it fit on what I saw Malcolm doing in Miami. He played his tapes for Ali at dinner time. He came and made himself visible that he was talking to Ali. And the night Ali won the title, I seen him weaving his way through a crowd so he could get a picture with Ali. So all that hit when the Shah told me that he was going to set up against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, set his own movement in. I said, yeah, I can see it. I said, now if he going to split, he going to need somebody with magnitude, some appeal. And he was after Ali. And when I came back to Miami and told Ali what was to be suspected, Ali really didn't believe me at the time. But he was on his way to Africa. They had been invited to Ghana, Africa. And he went through New York, and Malcolm was there, and Malcolm went to talking derogatory things about the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Ali's brother, his name is Rahman too. Rahman jumped up and was on Malcolm for talking ill against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they had to pull Rahman off of him. And I think between what I told him about Malcolm and what his brother did, I think that saved him from going with Malcolm in his split with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, so me training his mind, and since I trained his mind, I had him every day for about 3 years teaching him Islam. That's taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and taught him about the enemy, how deceitful the white man is. Because the white man had him, all the money he was making in the fight game, he had him living in a poverty state. And I had to bring his mind up, let him know, no, man, make him get you something better, make him get you something better. Each time he asked for it, he got it. Yeah. But you know, they'll throw anything on you. If you accept it, they don't care. Yeah.
Atlanta's Black Muslim community has some prominent leaders now. Did you train any of them?
Cleveland,
You trained Man Please?
come up under me. Furqan, one of my soldiers. Some more around town got his masjids. I don't know their Muslim name right now. But most of them, William, you know, Raheem, you know the brother who used to play basketball for Hawks? Abdul Rahim, you know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Sharif Abdul Rahim.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
His daddy come up under me.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a whole lot of them soldiers out there.
Now, were there any who were in Atlanta or in the regions where you were training who have since gone to other places, but that you trained?
I'm trying to think.
Some of those, you know, prominent where they are now.
Well, the one I was telling you about, the one with the banker, I know he's in Washington. And where some of them went, I really don't know.
Okay.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, because Abraham Bacha, you know him? Now, Bacha, my wife taught him school in Chicago. My wife was a school teacher. And he was one of her students.
In the schools at the nation.
Yeah. And he and I used to be on the drill team in Chicago together. I was older than him, but we used to drill together on what we call a fancy drill team. Yeah. They do all the way out exotic steps. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have asked this at the beginning, sir. What is your birthday?
10/1/31.
31.
I mean, I'm 81 years old now. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I guess the last question that is definitely on my list to ask is, you traveled a bit, you over a whole region, but even outside of the region that was under your leadership, how would you compare the community here, the nation community here, if you will, to the nation communities elsewhere? Was it essentially the same no matter what city you would go to, or could you feel certain kinds of different emphasis in this community on this type of work or that type of work? Or?
Well, you know, back during that period of time, we had one consent. And I think black people back at that time, it was much more together than they are today. The enemy been busy keeping us divided. But even the black people in politics was even more together than they are today. The Muslim world was more together than they are today. The enemy is busy to stop us. And sometimes we play into their own hands. Now see, I'm a Muslim who believes solely in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I believe in Prophet Muhammad too. I believe in Islam, period. But now I have another brother, he may not believe in Elijah Muhammad, and he just believes in the teachings of the Prophet. And that keeps us divided. But see, he need to grow up, because I accept him as my brother and as a true Muslim believer. See, and by us being divided like that, that keeps us weak. See, if Islam was strong, they never, like it should be, they never would have marched down on Saddam Hussein. The Muslim world shouldn't have let that happen. They can say he was this or that. He still was a Muslim brother. They shouldn't have did that to Gaddafi. That's because they got us divided. See, once we, and I believe, and I think the world soon gonna believe, that what we are doing here in America is gonna change everything. That's why I'm working hard to stay in unity with all Muslims, what our group is. See, we're trying to work with Atlanta Masjid, Brother Furqan, his people, because we all got something in common. See, and another thing we got to remember is, same dog bit you, bit me. Same one bit me, bit you. So we have to put our, what we say, our theological difference to the side for the common cause of all of us. And Allah says in the Holy Quran, He said our difference anyway. We ain't gonna never sell it. We say He'll sell our difference. See, you know, I could put up arguments on why I believe like, and can't nobody argue around it. See? I could tell the brother, it's a passage in the Quran that said, if he had fabricated certain sins against us, Allah said He would have seized him and cut his heart vein out. And not one of us could have saved him. And I can use that and say Elijah Muhammad, he told us about Allah, he told us about Islam. And I say, if he had been lying, why Allah didn't cut his heart vein out? Either the book is wrong, Elijah Muhammad was right. See? So I can say that. I can tell them this. They say he has forged it. But the book said, nay, it is the truth from thy Lord, that thou mayest warn a people to whom no warner has ever come before thee. And ain't nobody never warned us until Elijah came. See, I can use all of that. See? So, but I don't argue with the brothers. I don't need to, because I'm reaching out for them, because I know one day we all gonna sit under the same tent.
So kind of in closing, the picture that emerges, I guess, is you were laying a lot of groundwork for a lot of what we see. It's started in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
I think that's where I'm viewed. I think I'm gonna be viewed like that. I think history will show that I planted many seeds for Islam to grow. And that's what I feel. I really feel good over that. Seeing Furqan, you know, run a group. Brother Pleman used to be head of that masjid over there. Raheem William them. In fact, he put the money up to get that mosque on Jonesboro, out there on Jonesboro Road. He had a lot to do with that. See, so I feel good over my works that I've done in Islam, and I pray Allah He'll allow me to continue. I can't move as fast as I used to. Now, in this city, economically, we had 4 restaurants at one time.
4 restaurants.
4 restaurants, 3 fish markets, full-blown bakery. I ain't talking about no just bean pies. I'm talking about bread, donuts, danishes, cakes, and a bakery. At 3 fish markets, we had 2 schools going, all the way from preschool through the 12th grade. We had a boutique haberdashery and sewing shop going. We had tractor-trailer trucks that we moved fish and other farm commodities from our farm here in Georgia. We sold 100,000 pounds of White Nation G fish every month.
How many farms did the nation have in Georgia?
We got one big one here in Georgia, but we got some in Alabama too. We had cattle, we were raising cattle and everything. We had plenty of cows. We had a milk dairy here in Georgia. Had the lowest bacteria count out of all the milk in Georgia. So Donna Elijah Muhammad was showing us that we could go and do for self. And we did it. See, because I had 139 people working strictly just for the mosque. They would work inside the mosque selling fish, working in those businesses I just told you about. And many of them made a living selling papers.
how long after the passing of Elijah, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, did that continue? The businesses, the farms?
Well, Wardeen them kept it going just a little while and then they let it all go. Their minds wasn't into that. He began to work more on the individual's jihad himself. No, they just really let it go. I hate to talk about it because it hurts me to know we had so much and for them to just squander it. Just let it go. See, for instance, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad built a beautiful home in Chicago. He bought a $2 million masjid where we got on Stony Island right now. We got it today. He bought that for us. And
that's Masjid Mariam.
Yeah. And see, Wardeen them just let it go. They let it go. So now when Minister Farrakhan began to rebuild the Nation of Islam, he started in November of '77. He didn't have nothing, I mean nothing. Because in the rebuilding stage, me and him had to spend the night in Washington, D.C. in the same hotel room. And Akbar was in the three of us in one room because we didn't have no money. But since that time, he had retrieved the masjid and the mosque, Mariam, which cost millions of dollars, and the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Chicago and in Phoenix, Arizona. So when I look at all of that, I know that Allah has to be with Farrakhan, otherwise he wouldn't allow him to do these things if he was not with the brother.
Was a farm restarted here in Georgia?
Yeah, we got out. See, they had let that go. We had 5,000 acres of farmland here, and they let it go. So now, Minister Farrakhan came, spoke in Macon, Georgia once, and he called me out the audience and told me, said, Brother Rahman, we got to get some farmland. That's okay. So the brother who used to work on the farm was sitting right out there on the front row. So I called him, I said, man, I said, look around, we need to get a couple of thousand acres of farm right away. He said, our old farm is up for sale, our old farm now. So now what we done, we done went and bought back our own farm. So we got it now. And Minister Farrakhan told me to tell all the old Muslims, whether they were Wardeen group or not, that we got the farm back for all of us. It ain't just for the Nation of Islam, for every black person in America. Because right now we embarked on a program to get 1 million acres.
Is that all in one state or that spread out?
I don't know how it's gonna be. Well, I hope we're trying to get 1 million acres because it's coming down, brother, where we're gonna have to take care of self. It's definitely coming down. See, and if that hurricane shouldn't have showed us something, down in New Orleans, how the devil had his guns out there and wouldn't let them people cross that bridge, he gonna look out for himself. And the poor people had to fence for themselves. So we see that, so we're preparing for things to come. It may not come this year, it may not come next year, but it's coming. And then again, it can come tomorrow. See, so we're trying to get ready for whatever Allah brings about. And I want him to bring it about because I'm tired of living under this wicked world. It's a wicked world we live under, brother. You know, we're talking about same-sex marriage. What kind of world is this? You know, it's all in the Bible if you can understand it. Whoever wrote the Bible know what they was talking about. They said, a woman stood on many waters, and she had a golden cup in her hand. She was decked in gold and purple and silk, and had a golden cup. Now look at the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I see a torch the woman holding. And then I examined that. I said, now I said, well, America looks beautiful. when you look for it on the outside, freedom of the brotherhood, justice for all, sounds good. But when you get on the inside, they say, the Bible says, in the cup was full of dead men's bones, full of abomination. It was in that cup with this beautiful woman holding it. See, and that tells me that that's America. It looks good and beautiful. They sing, the airways is full of Jesus every day. Jesus, Jesus, all day. But it's the most wickedest place on the planet.
If I could pull you back to the history, is there anything I didn't ask I should have?
Well, we had some confrontations with people trying to stop us from our own rights, such as we were selling papers downtown and the police department used to attack us, and as we don't have the right to sell a newspaper.
Is that in the 60s?
Yeah, back in the 60s. In fact, they jumped us down there one time, so my brother took the gun from the police and killed him with his own gun. Another time, one of my brothers was selling papers down in Cordele, Georgia, and they want to lock him up. He got in the car with the police, and the police started trying to beat him up. So he fought back, because we don't turn no other cheek. So he fought back. So the man went for his gun. So they got to fighting over the gun. The brother killed the police with his gun. And each time allowed us to get out of that kind of trouble. After the brother who got killed, he got out, he got away. But they extradited him from Milwaukee when they found out where he was. And they brought him back to Atlanta, not Atlanta, Cordele, Georgia. And they found him guilty, and then it's the police. They found him guilty, and they gave him life. He made about 8 years.
Oh, they found a police officer guilty?
No, he killed the police, you know, in the scuffle in the car. And he made about 8 years. He's down in Texas now, living a good life with his wife. And the brother who killed the police in Atlanta, they run down on him and they kill him, but he would have killed more, but he emptied the gun in the one he took the gun from. So those are a couple of confrontations we had with people trying to stop the growth of Islam from selling, because there ain't no law against selling a newspaper. So you have a right of the freedom of press, and you have a right to propagate your faith. And that's what Muslims are doing when they distribute literature, propagating their faith and have other news that's vital to the public. Yeah. But I want to make sure you know that Islam came to Atlanta in 1955. Some of the brothers across town have it wrong. They say 1958, but I was here in 1955. And they had it in there because I was one of the first to hear Brother James. And I think Atlanta right now probably is just one of the strongest of all Islam in America. I think Atlanta for Muslims, the number of Muslims, I think we probably have more. And I like it to be known that that the great work and sacrifice of those brothers, a lot of those brothers who helped me establish things, they're imams in other communities now. And I like to thank them and continue to thank them for propagating this faith, because it is to overcome the world. It's written that Allah will make it overcome all religions. And that I believe, and people who know the real religion believe that, because we don't have to put a name on it. All we're trying to do is turn people to righteousness. And see, that's the real name of the religion, is righteousness, obedience to God. And I believe that we're living in that time that the world gonna be transformed from wickedness into righteousness.
Minister, I thank you.
I think, I hope I help you a little bit.
You touched that Maynard Jackson.
Go back to Maynard Jackson. He touched it, but he didn't talk about exactly what went on in Atlanta, so I thought maybe he didn't want to say too much about the details, yeah.
No, Maynard Jackson was, he got to be vice mayor, what they call a vice mayor at one time. This same thing I was just telling you about the police encounter with the brother, he somewhat witnessed that activity of them trying to conspire to destroy us from downtown. And he saw how we responded, and then he began to come to our aid in that situation. So now he was Maynard was a great man, you know.
What was he able to do? How did he help?
His influence. His influence, I think, I don't know whether he didn't testify or nothing like that, but I think he had a knowledge of the conspiracy that they had planned against us. And after we come out real well, he began to be more acceptable to us. I mean, not that he wasn't in the beginning, but I think he began to realize what we was doing was right.
So you think when people saw that he was doing things to try to help his brothers be protected, that in general, that helped people see him as someone they could vote for?
One time in Atlanta, in his administration, some of the white businesses wanted to move out of Atlanta because him and Reginald Eves was running Atlanta. So I met him down on Auburn Avenue one day. I told him, I said, man, don't worry about it, let him move. I said, we'll run the city. So, you know, I gave him build his confidence up. So don't be begging nobody to stay here. We open these businesses up, we can run them, man. We ain't paralyzed, we're not no paraplegic. So that's the attitude I had with him, and he had a good attitude toward us. In fact, he declared, I gave a Black Family Day bazaar. I think it was in 1974 at Lakewood Fairground. I had 23,000 people to come through there. Martin Luther King's mother was there and his father was there. I had Maynard Jackson there. I had Muhammad Ali there. And Maynard put his trumps on and Ali they got in the ring together. So this was part of the show, you know. And Ali pretend to let Maynard knock him out and all of that. So it was a lot of fun, man. And he thanked me they told me to thank Ali for letting him look good. Yeah. So, yeah, it hurt me when that brother died, you know. He got so big, though. We got to watch our weight, watch our health. That's the most valuable thing in the whole life, brother. If you got good health, you're rich. I remember that old white boy in The Godfather said he'd kill $2 million just to be able to urinate without it hurting. $2 million, he said. He said, ain't nothing more valuable than good health. Yeah, Maynard was a good mayor, though. He was a real good mayor. And hope God was pleased with him. But, yeah. See, you know, even when hold on, I'm gonna put this up. This is why I know Allah is God, brother. Normally when black men kill a white man, he ain't got a chance.
In the South?
In the South. He ain't got a chance. But now, this brother, they had 7 or 8 of my brothers in jail for the killing of the police that the brother killed, that they killed. And well, they got them all out, walk free. That don't happen. So when that happened, the lawyer was there with me. His name was C.B. King. That's a bad black man. He dead now. He had passed on. I said, all praise is due to Charlie. He said, yeah, he knew it wasn't him. He knew it had to be God. He said, yes, all praise due to Charlie. He joined in with me. All them brothers walk, man. So that's why, see, all these kind of things are self-evidence that Allah truly is God, brother, because He get you out of some things you don't think you can get out of. Now look, now when this brother was down in, had him locked up in Cordell, Georgia, I went down to see him, you know. His name was Hugh, Brother Hugh. So I come in there to the jail, and I said, sheriff sitting at the desk. He said, what you want? I said, I come to see Hugh Tenner. He said, who are you? I saw him as minister, just like that. This is kind of way the tone it was in. And when I saw him as minister, you should have seen all the wind come out that cracker. He just got humble as he could be. So he showed me where it was. Otherwise, he must say, if this nigga done kill my sheriff deputy upstairs, his boss come in here, he must be better than the one upstairs. So he let me see the brother. So the brother told me this. He said, Brother Mills, I got this, don't worry. He telling me, I'm worried. He said, but I just can't get nothing to eat right, you know. Stuff he said, if I had a little pot, so I can fix my own beans soup, I'd be all right. So I went down there and told the sheriff. I said, Sheriff, I said, the stuff y'all feeding him ain't right for my brother. Got a different eating habit. I said, would you allow me to put a hot plate in his cell and give him some Navy beans so he can make him some soup? Yes, well, quite all right. That don't happen, brother, nowhere. He let me do it. He let me do it. That's what I'm telling you. Now I know Allah is God. This don't happen. Let a man put a hot plate in his cell and cook his own food and he there for murder? They got him charged for murder? No, Allah is God, man. See, so I went through all those experiences. That would make my belief stronger and stronger and stronger. Because God done been there all the time. And see, that's where all Muslims have to feel. See what the prayer said? Said, Allah answered those who praise His Him. He answered those who praise Him. And I try to praise Him all day long, brother. Thank you, brother, for asking me to do this with you.
Thank you for doing it, brother.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi
Wa
wa
rahmatullah. Yeah, thank you.
Now, if you want,
Huh?
oh, that's right. See, that's why I say usually we try to do it at the beginning, but make it to the comfort of the interviewee.
Yeah. What you want, man?
Write you there. You know, I Abdul Rahman.
Put it right there?
That's just your name. And then the name and the signature.
Okay.
Whatever the address is.
Okay. All right. The
plan right now is to put the whole interview, all the interviews we're doing on the internet and in the archives, so that anybody who wants to write about the history, right, they'll be going straight to the source. They're going to be, it's no filter. It's what you said.
Yeah, I see.
And I think about Atlanta, there's something special about Atlanta. I mean, Muslims here.
You know.